Hey, what's happening? YouTubers are back with a brand new action figure review, and today we're going to take a look at the new McFarlane Toys DC Direct Batman The Adventures Continue Catwoman version 2. And yes, you did hear me correct. This is McFarlane Toys because McFarlane Toys did pick up the DC Direct license, and I'm glad they did because they continue to make figures that were originally showed in Toy Fair 2020. Gosh, it's been so long now. Since 2020 that were supposed to be released, but then DC Direct ultimately shut down in August of 2020. So I'm happy to see that McFarlane Toys picked it up last year, and they're continuing to make these figures. But enough of that being said, let's go and take a look at the box art first. So on the front of the box, you see the figure along with the accessories. Batman The Adventures Continue, and notice it's in that Batman animated series font, or the Bruce Timm series font, I should say. And I'm stoked because this line is basically based off of that, and I'm happy to see this figure being made because I grew up on Batman the animated series and also X-Men the animated series. But anyways, enough about all that. You see the DC Direct logo right there, and you see Catwoman version 2, and shout outs to my friend Rob D Toys. He was the one that actually mentioned to me that there was a version 1, and seeing the picture of version 1 and version 2 now, it's a huge improvement. And if we look on the back, you can see the silhouette of Batman right there. And then on the side, there's nothing. It just says, oh, cool. It does give credit. It says sculpted by Irene Matar. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. That's awesome. So they're kind of doing what NECA does. They give credit to like the sculptors or who's in charge in putting this figure together. That's cool to see. So shout outs to Irene Matar. And then on the back, you see absolutely nothing but the silhouette of Batman. That's enough about all that. Let's go and get Catwoman out of the box. All right, here's Catwoman out of the box. Let's take a look at her accessories first. Our first accessory we're going to take a look at is this whip that she comes with. It's pretty neat because it has like those 3 different, I don't know, ends or 4, I guess. So it looks like an actual whip. And this is pretty cool because it's a thin material, so it's easy to like wrap up. And it's also easy to extend out. It does come with 2 additional sets of hands, and the first 2 are kind of like to grip the whip and hold on to it, and the other 2 are kind of like, they're interesting. They're like kind of claw hands, like you can see how sharp they are. So that's pretty interesting that they put that attention to detail with the 2 sets of hands. And if you notice, it looks like a weird color. It's because it's cell shaded. So this figure line, I believe this and Batman and also Batman Who Laughs is also cell shaded as well. She also comes with additional head sculpt, so this is cool to see. It's the unmasked version. You see Selena Kyle, and that's exactly what we saw in the animated series. So the sculpting and the paint application on this was perfect. All right, now let's take a look at the figure itself, and we're going to zoom in and take a look at the head sculpt first, because this one is also on point to what we saw in the animated series. Now, I am a huge fan of, I guess, the original animated series version of Catwoman, because I wasn't a fan of Catwoman's design in the Batman the New Adventure series, because it just kind of looked weird to me, but I like this one better. Had kind of like a noir look, but yeah, I think they did a fantastic job with the head sculpt, similar to what we saw in the animated series. Now, I will also say this figure is hard to stand up. She has such tiny feet, and it's kind of flimsy if I'm being honest with you, so it's kind of hard standing up, so I'm just going to hold her like this so she doesn't fall over. But as you can see throughout the rest of the figure, you can see the cell shading right here. So it's kind of similar to what Hasbro is doing with their X-Men the Animated Series line. And I think, like I mentioned, the other figures in this wave are also cell shaded. And let me preface it by saying I've also had 2 other DC Direct Batman the Animated Series or Adventure Continues, whatever, figures. I had the Dick Grayson Robin, and I also had the Batgirl. And I know from experience, I'm not expecting much in terms of articulation. I'm also not expecting much in terms of like posability and how these things stand, because those figures actually came with stands. Now that I'm remembering it, I kind of wish this one did as well, because like I said, those feet are kind of flimsy. When taking a look at the rest of the figure, it just looks nice. It's a pretty plain paint scheme because this is what we saw in the animated series, so you can see the cell shading details. But when we look at our articulation, it's pretty basic and what we've been accustomed to when it comes to DC Direct figures. First things first, the head can go up and down. There's articulation there. There is a shoulder articulation, so a shoulder swivel. And here's the interesting thing. Even though it looks like it's a cut right there, it's not. It's just a sculpt, so you can't, there's no actual bicep swivel actually on that. And it's single jointed elbows, so you can almost, yeah, not really. You can't really get 90 degrees on there. And then there's the wrist swivel as well, because you can also switch the wrist out. There are no hip articulations, which I'm kind of bummed out about. I wish there would have been at least a diaphragm cut, especially for a character like Catwoman. Kind of need her in dynamic poses. It has sort of that DC-UC T-joints we've seen before. And then if we zoom out here, she also has single jointed knees, so you can't really do much with the knees as well, to be honest with you. There is a boot cut, though. And then there is ankle articulation and a little bit of ankle pivot, I want to say. Yeah, a little bit of ankle pivot. The thing that's always fascinated me about the T joints, it just looks weird to me. Like when you push the legs out, it just looks awkward. I would think at this point that DC Direct would have developed or engineered a much better way to articulate the legs. And when I say DC Direct, I do mean DC Direct because even though these are manufactured by McFarlane, he picked up the license. The original engineering and toy work and the work that got put into these figures were originally from DC Direct. All right, now we're going to go ahead and pop the head off and switch it with the unmasked version. Whoa, that's interesting to see. So, okay. So it looks like, from far away, it looks like the peg hole in this is a bigger one. But if you look in closely, shine some light here, you can see that it is a smaller peg inside there. So when I took this out initially, I was like, whoa, is this one too small? And this one's just too big. But no, that's not the case. All right, here's how she looks like with the unmasked version. It looks great straight ahead. The only problem is it's hard to really turn the head without the hair hindering the movement and the positioning of it. It just looks awful. Like, I wish they would have used a softer plastic, I want to say, or rubber material for the hair, just because it would have been a lot better to move the figure's head around. But with that hair, it just changes the position of it, and it's not something I'm a fan of, honestly. Straight ahead, she looks fine. It's just you can't really turn the head side to side, which is frustrating. I wanted to try a head swap with the Lynx figure from Fortnite, just to show like what it looked like on a different cat body or cat woman suit body, whatever. It doesn't look good at all. Let me know what y'all think in the comments below. It was a valiant effort because I thought the grays kind of matched. I thought it could work well, but I think it just looks off. I don't know. Let me know what y'all think. Now I'm going to jump right into size comparisons. And first size comparison, here is that Catwoman version 2 from DC Direct, next to the only other Batman the Animated Series related figure I have in my collection at the moment. We have the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Batman from Batman the Animated Series, essentially the Wave 1 Batman. And I gotta be honest with y'all, I did not like this figure at all. I actually did a review on this 2 years ago when it first came out. I never uploaded it because I had such a hard time balancing and standing him up. And the fact that he's standing up right now is a miracle. But as you can see, they don't scale well at all with the DC Direct figure because Catwoman looks like Robin compared to Batman. So if you're wondering, they don't scale well at all. In case you're wondering, if you want me to post a review on this from like 2 years ago, let me know in the comments below because I remember that review. It was just so frustrating because he always kept falling down. And next size comparison, here's Catwoman standing next to a couple other cat-related figures. We have the Batman movie Catwoman figure from McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse line and Hasbro's Fortnite Lynx figure. And next size comparison, just to see what this Catwoman would look like next to a Marvel Legends, we have the Marvel Legends retro-carded Black Cat, and even seeing them side by side, this Catwoman's a little too short. So the DC Direct, I feel like, has always been a true 6-inch scale, whereas Marvel Legends has always been kind of a 6.5, 7-inch scale, in my opinion. And last size comparison, even though this is a DC Direct figure, it's still technically under the McFarlane Toys banner. So here's a size comparison next to the Todd McFarlane figure. All right, so my overall thoughts on the figure is I like it. It's okay in my opinion because I've had DC Direct figures before, specifically from the animated series line, so I know what to expect. However, if you're a collector just getting into the game, picking these up, expecting like Marvel Legends quality articulation, you're not going to get it, to be honest with you. They're nicely sculpted figures, and at its core, that's pretty much what they've been. Ever since even before McFarlane Toys acquired the DC Direct property. They've been nicely sculpted figures. In terms of posability, that's always secondary in my opinion, but they still look good on the collection shelf. But in terms of posability and articulation, it's not that great, to be honest with you, but I know what to expect. I would still pick it up, though, if you're a fan of the animated series growing up, because right now this is your only avenue to pick these things up, unless Mafex does one, for example, but that thing's going to be like $100, $150. So it's a completely different price range. And how do you feel about McFarlane Toys picking up the DC Direct line? Me, in my opinion, I am happy for it just because we got to see these figures that were originally showcased at Toy Fair 2020 that have been on ice for a while up until now when they decided to basically pick up the property line and release these figures like this one, the Batman Who Laughs, and the New Adventures Batman, which I also will review shortly. But yeah, I'm just happy to have McFarlane Toys pick up the license. I hope they can continue the line, to be honest with you. Like, even though these things lack articulation, I'm just happy that we're seeing these figures made once again. But yeah, like always, YouTubers, if you like what you see, be sure to hit that like button. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. Thanks for watching.